Courtney Cox here with Zach Cox, Gillette Stadium, day 5 of Patriots training camp, and it's been pretty run-of-the-mill training camp. We've seen, them without pads, them with pads. Today, we got our first fight.
We did.
Stephon Gilmore and Julian Edelman kind of getting into it near the end of practice. What did you see from your vantage point?
Well, it was, there were no punches thrown. There was no, it only lasted maybe 10-15 seconds total. But they did get into it pretty strongly. It was came on an incompletion to Julian Edelman. He obviously felt that he was either held or interfered with or something of that nature. He got in Stephon Gilmore's face. Gilmore got in his face. Gilmore kind of ripped his helmet right off. Then they were separated pretty quickly. Both were kicked out of practice. That's a Bill Belichick rule. You fight, you're gone. But yeah, it was hot out there today. It was just, it's guys competing, as they say. And that's one instance where it's really not a cliche.
Well, you bring up the heat. It is very hot out today, and Chris Hogan was asked about it. Dwayne Allen was asked about it. They both said, the heat today and tempers flaring, you're all over each other, all practice. This is going to happen.
Yeah, especially with wide receivers and defensive backs, too. These are guys that go against each other all the time in practice. They're also kind of known as the guys with, I don't want to say the biggest egos, but they definitely talk a lot of smack out there. So
right. It's
really not surprising that this went down between two guys like this.
Well, you talk about talking some trash back and forth. Shea McClellan, after practice, threw some shade, saying, someone asked, have you ever seen Julian Edelman get under anybody's skin? And he said, oh yeah, that's just what he does, or something along those lines.
I think anybody who's ever watched any of those Inside the NFL, mic'd up sound effects kind of things, you know what Julian Edelman does out there. You know what he does against other teams, and clearly he doesn't hold back even when he's going up against his own teammates out there.
Well, you don't think it's a big deal, though. They probably shook hands. They're probably
not at all.
hanging out right now.
I'm sure the coaches are actually pretty excited about this, especially with, like you were saying before, these practices have been kind of blah so far. I mean, just with the rules surrounding the NFL nowadays, there's really not even that much contact, even though they are wearing full pads. There hasn't been any tackling, anything like that. So I think it's kind of nice to see people get a little fired up, get a little intensity in there. I think everybody around the team has to like to see that.
Absolutely, and we liked to see it too.
We do.
Everyone's tweeting away. Speaking of tweeting, you want to make sure to follow Zach on Twitter at Zach Cox Nesson or myself at Cox Courtney. Keep it locked in right here, Nesson.com, for all your Patriots needs.